Football Update. It's with your host, Sean Spencer and Alex Roosevelt. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, a little later, but we're still here on this Tuesday. And you know who I'm with, the guy that still atop the Big Ten undefeated Michigan fan, Alex Loosemore. What up, Alex?
Not too much, man. Starting to see more and more news about all this other stuff going on, so we'll see. Some of it looks legit, some of it doesn't. So I mean, we'll still in wait and see mode. But dominant win on Saturday, and it's looking good the rest of the way.
Yo, realistically, what at this point, what could they do? Like, could they jeopardize your title hopes, or is this something that they're going to do after the season?
Everything I've been hearing is after season.
Okay.
Now, I mean, that could obviously mean vacating wins, vacating a potential national championship. All that stuff could happen. So we'll see. But, yeah, sounds like everything that might happen would be 2024 and beyond.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. After the beating you put on my fiance's team, I know she doesn't hope so, but I will overlook that. I definitely think hope so. But look, yes, it was a crazy week of college football. We talked about the games beforehand, but the games this weekend were some very, very shocking, and some were exactly like we expected. And let's go right to it. You alluded to it before. There was no competition. You were on the show last week saying, bet, the 25 point, you're going to cover the spread, the whole nine. I'm going to tell you, it was not pretty to watch. And being on the other side, Alex, I mean, I know you had the joy, but can you imagine me trying to be positive towards that? Like, Kat, it could get better.
See, I can because I had that exact same thing on Sunday. So, yeah, no, it's definitely tough being on that side, and like I've played on both sides of that kind of game. It's not fun as a player, as a coach, as a fan. There's no joy whatsoever in that.
None. And after a while, it just and I think of myself as a pretty hardcore fan. I'm going to watch to the last drop, unless it's my team where I lose my mind. But this one, it was just like, I was like, Kat, we got to turn it. Like, we can't keep watching this. Like, there's nothing positive. Because the thing Kat does is whenever the announcer is saying something that's just random, but it's positive towards the other team, she takes it out on the announcer. Oh, I hate them. They're just trying to love Michigan. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's not that. No, they're not doing that, babe. This is, they're right. Like, you're getting killed. Like, they can't say anything else, babe. So
yeah, this is the point where it's what the announcers and broadcasters call blowout material. It's stuff that you're just trying to kill the dead air of a dead game. And you're just like, okay, what are we talking about? Like,
no signs or signals were harmed in that game. Oh, but you have to love Cat Hughes. Absolutely. Hey, great game. This is exactly what we expected. So, but look, let's stay right in the Big Ten. I mean, a game that you and I talked about kind of felt like it was going to go the other way, but I don't know. Penn State fell short. They lost 20-12 to Ohio State. What do you think of this one? Is this Penn State being exposed, or was just a better team won this game?
I think it was the inexperience of Penn State showed offensively. Yeah. You've got a sophomore quarterback that's making his first year as a full starter, 2 sophomore running backs, young offensive line. You got decent receivers, but not many of those guys have played the big time games like this. True. Going to the Horseshoe, that's a tough place to play. Yeah. And Ohio State's defense played lights out. They were phenomenal. JT Tuimoloau was an absolute game breaker. looked phenomenal against that Penn State offense. I wasn't wowed by anything outside of Ohio State's defensive front. Like, to me, as a Michigan fan, I saw that game and was licking my chops. I was like, oh, the way we're playing, we'll smoke both these teams.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see if that comes true when it's time to play them, especially when we go to Happy Valley. But that was a game. I wasn't going to go as far as Kate saying the battle of mid, but it was two teams that exposed a lot of weaknesses out of each other.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And look, for me at least, Ohio State answered the question that I asked prior to the game. Can their defense shut down the team? Can their defense show up? And they definitely did in that game. They stole the momentum and they were able to shut down, you're right, a very inexperienced Penn State team. So it's going to be interesting going down the line. And again, when you play them, it's a different atmosphere and you guys know each other very well. But if that defense plays that big in that game, I am looking forward to that one. Especially as somebody that has seen your offense just run rough shot over our makeshift defense.
I will say, Johnny's kind of caught me here. I'll say that team down south. You caught me. This is the most physical iteration of the team I've seen in a long time. But it's still not physical enough to match, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They've gotten a lot more physical up front. Mostly on the defensive side. The offensive line is still a massive weakness there that I feel like we'll absolutely take advantage of. But that defensive line is no joke. Those linebackers are playing tough. And it's going to bring a new dynamic to that game that I'm kind of excited for.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Scott, I don't know.
Don't even put up the next one, please.
Okay. Sorry, I just saw it. All right, Scott, God, you're done, buddy. You're done. Shout out to Mizzou, but no, you're done with that. Yo, let's move on. Another game we discussed on Saturday. Florida State comes out at 18 points, 18-point win over Duke. Riley Leonard played in this game, and he kept them in it for a good portion of it, but Florida State was able to stretch it out towards the end. I asked this question before the game. Should Riley Leonard play? He needed to play, and it kept him in the game because I think to your point before, this would have been even uglier had he not played.
Yeah, the fact that somebody of that caliber, while not anywhere near 100%, which was pretty clear, him showing up made it only an 18-point difference. Had he not been in, this would have been ugly quick.
Yeah.
And I believe he got yanked partway through the game, did he not?
I think he went down either with an injury, but then he came back. But, yeah, then they kind of pulled him out after that because, like you said, it was noticeable that he was hurting in the game. And he's given his best effort, but that speed of Florida State, man, if you're hobbled, they're going to eat you up, man. It's like sharks in the water.
Yeah.
So Florida State, hey, again, they're ranked fourth, another win. They continue to march down. Are they getting enough attention? I know we've hyped them up, but what do you think?
In the national spotlight, I don't think so. Yeah. Because it's been mostly Michigan and Georgia still, with Ohio State getting a lot of attention now. I think Florida State is probably the third best team in the country right now. And that's me still throwing Washington above them. So okay. I feel like the top three, realistically in any order you want to put them, are Washington, Michigan, and Florida State. Georgia without Brock Bowers takes a fall. They're still probably 5-6, somewhere in there. But yeah, Florida State is an elite program. And I think they should get more attention.
Absolutely. I mean, when you got Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman both on that Heisman projection list, I mean, you got to put some attention on them, man. I get it. You know, let's be honest. At the beginning of last year, we were talking about Norvell on the hot seat. But what he's been able to do that last year and then up into this point this year, I mean, shout out to him. 2 back-to-back years beating LSU. He's shown that he can play against top-tier teams. I know you have to win in the postseason, absolutely, but on the road that they're going right now, I got to say, man, FSU, man, they got to be one of the favorites to be in the top 4.
And I'll say right now, looking at this 4-team playoff, it is so interesting to kind of pick it out because there's a realistic chance you end with an undefeated Big Ten champion.
Yeah.
With an undefeated ACC champion. With an undefeated Big 12 champion. With an undefeated Pac-12 champion. Potentially an undefeated SEC champion. And if you don't have those undefeateds, it's a 1-loss SEC, 1-loss Big 10, 1-loss Big 12, 1-loss ACC, 1-loss Pac-12. Like, there's going to be so many different variables here. Like, if Georgia loses to Alabama, then how does that shift because Oklahoma beat Texas, or if Texas ends up beating Oklahoma and is the Big 12 champion, they have the win over Alabama. There's so many, like, intertwining roads here that I would love to just be a fly on the wall in those selection meetings.
Right. If only we had a 12-team tournament that could come and settle this on the field.
Might have been a good idea.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yo. I mean, hey, look, to your point, man, there's so much chaos, especially now at this time of the year with teams that have been undefeated. They're starting to fall. Teams that might have fallen early are starting to show up and rise. We look at, I'll go, Scott, you're in here, talk about Missouri. Missouri is one of those teams that fell early. We saw what happened when they lost to LSU. But I'm going to be honest, like we talked about throughout this year, they're doing it, and it's not just Brady Cook. It's not just Luther Burden. You know what I mean? Yep. Go look at that running back. Look at these other weapons that these guys are having coming out here, and that defense is still playing tough. I mean, I honestly, shout out to Scott. I know he's super excited, and if you could say, "Oh, Mizzou Golden Girls," But hey, that's actually no. That's from what's his name? Oh, here it is. Johnny asked best cheerleaders in college now, and he said the Mizzou Golden Girls. This guy. Yo, but I mean, honestly, Missouri going forward. Obviously, we have to see them beat the likes of a Georgia for them to really garner that kind of attention. But look, I'm not counting them out. I'll say that.
No, not at all. There's about 4 teams that would kind of keep in the SEC race. And if Alabama slips up again, then I would add Ole Miss. And then Missouri and Georgia. Like, those are my kind of 4 teams I'm looking at in that conference right now. Realistically, it's more still Georgia, Bama. But those other 2 teams are creeping their way into that discussion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And look, we just talked about Bama, so let's go right over to that one. Bama playing number 11, Bama playing number 17, Tennessee. The tale of 2 halves. Can we say that? I mean, absolutely
we can. Yeah.
20-7, and it's looking like we're getting a repeat of last year. Then Bama does what Bama does. They show up. Saban went into the locker room and said, "You guys got a choice to make," and they made that choice. And they came out in that second half, man. Who is this more telling about? Is this more about how Alabama came back, or is this about how Tennessee choked it?
I would say it's more about Bama than Tennessee, mostly because, in my opinion, it was while Alabama scored most of their points in the second half, this was a team that shut down the defensive side of the ball. They were like a vice grip on that Tennessee offense. Now, I made it clear how I feel about Joe Milton and that offense. I don't think they're very good, but that defense really showed up in the second half after playing terribly in that first half.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, look, for Alabama, if they can keep this defense going consistently, then maybe we can start having that thought that they are the Alabama from the past, these Alabamas that we've talked about year after year after year. But listen, some even say that, this might be Saban's best job coaching, Because, I mean, you really don't have that premier player. You have units that are good overall, but they're not – you don't have the Will Anderson, the Bryce Young. You don't have – you know what I mean? So, I mean, is this his best? I mean –
yeah, I would say yes. This is the worst quarterback he's had in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably since back to that 2015-ish year where, crazy enough, won a national championship that year. Go figure.
Right.
Running back room, I mean, we've seen the stable of running backs he's had continuously. Outside of Jason McClellan, there's not really anything here. Worst receiver group. Now, I mean, it's tough to keep that number of receivers they had in the past. By far the worst offensive line, one of the worst defenses, and they're 7-1.
Yeah.
I think this shows just how good of a football coach Saban is.
Yeah.
Everyone before it was like, he's a good coach, but a phenomenal recruiter. Now that the playing field's leveled out with that recruiting, it's showing clearly again how good of a coach this guy really is.
Right. So, hey, let's see what he can do going forward down the year. Let's keep going. Washington, number 5, Washington barely beats Arizona State 15-7. I mean, I get conference games are normally tougher, but dang, I mean, what?
Yeah. Well, and the offense didn't score at all. It was 3 field goals and a pick 6 for Washington with a failed 2-point conversion. Yeah. Penix had 2 interceptions, damn near 50% completion, under 300 passing. Like, this was by far his worst game of the year.
Yeah.
Their leading rusher had 13 yards on 1 carry.
Oh my gosh.
Now, Polk, their third receiver, had 102 receiving yards, so he played well.
Right.
But I didn't see much of this game, so I don't know if it's props to ASU's defense or if Washington just really overlooked these guys and didn't show up. But that's a game you gotta dominate, especially with the CFP rankings coming a week from today.
Right. And honestly, I think this kind of begs that question. You know, I mean, Washington, when you really think of perennial powers, Washington is not the name you put in there. They may be that second tier where you're like, if they have a great season and go undefeated, they could potentially go up there, but they're not the Ohio State. They're not Michigan. They're not Georgia and Alabama. They're not those type of teams. So it almost makes you wonder, you know, Penix is getting a lot of attention. Odunze is getting attention. You got all these cameras coming now to Washington. You know, sometimes people, you know, ain't ready. We talked about Penn State just not too long ago. Mm-hmm. They hit the bright lights and it got a little shaky. So, I mean, are we seeing this from Washington, or is this just one of those fluke games which happens to everybody?
I think it's just one of those fluke games, because if we're talking about all the cameras on you and you fall apart, that Oregon game would have been prime spot for that. And that was arguably their best game of the year. So I think this is just one where you had that magnificent game. You're kind of looking forward, okay, we got USC, we got all these teams we still got to play. And you might have just wrote off Arizona State. Yeah. Who's coming in and being like, okay, this is the top dog. We're giving you everything we got. Similar to a Boston College, Florida State earlier this year. Like, it's right. It's one of those games that you survive and you need to survive it, but you shouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
Exactly. Yo, moving along down the list, two of the top Big 12 teams. Got some close ones in this one. Houston almost got a win over Texas, held them close all the way. And Quinn Ewers went down in this game.
Yeah, he's got a grade 2 AC joint injury in his shoulder. So that's like a half to 3/4 tear in there. So it sounds like he's out 3 to 4 weeks. Oof. And no, it's not Arch Manning taking over.
No.
He's redshirting, it sounds like. I don't know when Ewers went down. This was another game I was watching other stuff, didn't really get to this one. But the offense, I mean, threw 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then everything else is like rushing or field goals. So it might have been in that time, but I think they'll still be okay. Yeah. Now, this is going to be where we just talked about Washington surviving 1 game. Texas is probably going to have to survive 3 to 4 games.
Exactly. Now, and not to mention how many games they've already survived. Let's remember that Wyoming took them to their limit. We've seen what happened
Alabama.
against Alabama, right? We see what happened against OU. They're in dogfights every single week. And you just wonder, especially now with Ewers out, you just wonder how long can they sustain the success.
Well, and that schedule is tough. So if it's 3 games, they host BYU, they host Kansas State, and then they go to TCU. If you add in that 4th game, then they go to Iowa State. So those first 3 games are tough.
Yeah.
That 4th one, maybe not so much, but that is a tough 3-game stretch to lose your best player.
Right.
Because Ewers is a difference maker, and that is a tough pill to swallow for Texas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with Ewers, we're talking about potentially, CFP, definitely in the conversation, maybe just outside of it. But without, I'm not giving them that. No, I haven't seen enough from the backups and all that stuff. So we'll see. Now, on the flip side of that, the team that just beat them in the last Red River rivalry, OU, in the Dylan Gabriel revenge game, this thing went down to the wire. Missed 2-point conversion was the only difference in this ball game. OU escapes with a victory. Hey, UCF has had the last couple years under Kelsey Malzahn. They are a team to be reckoned with. We've seen them play, so this doesn't surprise me.
No, not in the slightest. And this, I mean, you look at it, UCF controlled most of this game.
Yeah.
Like they were up, 10-7, gave up a touchdown, scored a touchdown right back like 30 seconds later to take the lead again, went into halftime tied. 2 field goals in the third quarter, you're up 23-17 going into the fourth. They scored 2 touchdowns there. And then you being down that touchdown late in the game, drive down the field, being down 8, score that touchdown. If only they would have got the 2-point conversion, because this was one of those games that was so fun to watch. It was back and forth. And hats off to UCF, man. Like, John Rice Plumlee, one of his better games of the year. Completion percentage, just over 50, wasn't great. But 248 yards, 2 touchdowns. Our running back Harvey had 100 yards rushing. Yeah. This was a solid game across the board by UCF. And another one, good job to Oklahoma for surviving. That was the theme of the week for most of the country.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not all of us, but
I was leaving that one alone.
Thank you. Look, speaking about surviving, we talked about Texas's schedule going forward. Oklahoma has to play at Kansas, at Oklahoma State, come home for West Virginia, then at BYU and home for TCU. I look at 3, at least 3, if not 4 of those games to be very close and could be a tough fight for this OU team going down the stretch.
Absolutely. Yeah, you look at it now. I know their records aren't exactly the same. Like we have a 4-3, a 5-2, a 6-1, another 5-2, and a 7-0 team that are all right there for the conference because of their actual conference records. So Oklahoma, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Kansas State are all 3-1 or 4-0 in the conference.
Yep.
And we just talked about all those teams play either Texas or Oklahoma the rest of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. They all have something to play for as well. Because that conference championship, at least that second spot, with that injury to Ewers, is totally up for grabs. I cannot wait to see how this shakes out.
These conference races, they're heating up, man.
Yeah.
I'm hyped. I love this. I love this. Let's get it. A couple more of these ranked games. USC falls again, this time by a stout Utah team, a Utah team without Cam Rising. What does this say? USC, they done?
Utah owns USC. Oh yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
They're pretty much eliminated from the Pac-12 championship picture at this point. Yeah. And I mean, you lost to Utah, you still got to play Oregon and Washington. They're going to end up with 3 conference losses, I think. I don't think they're winning either of those games. That defense, like we've said multiple times this year, is atrocious. And I've started to see a bunch of talk about this. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Caleb Williams pulls himself.
Ooh.
Locked into that first overall pick, essentially. Not really anything else to play for. I would look at that. He might be making a business decision here sooner than later.
I mean, we know he's already thinking about business decisions, talking to these daggone teams about being part owner and all that stuff. But
yeah,
wow, that's interesting. Now, let me ask you this, though. Since he has been talking about part owner and talking about that, wanting to have a stake in whatever team gets him, is there a chance if maybe it's Chicago Bears or Panthers or a Cardinals, one of these teams, is there a chance that maybe he says, you know what, I'm going to go play USC one more year? He's getting paid. We know he's getting something right now. So
yeah, but in my opinion, why would you?
Right.
Like we've seen what playing at USC is getting him.
Yeah.
Some good games, a lot of flaws on that team. You're not going to be playing for anything. Yeah. Especially you're moving to the Big Ten next year, where Washington's joining you, where Oregon's joining you, where UCLA is joining you. Then you have Michigan, you have Ohio State, you have Penn State, like you have Wisconsin, Iowa. Like there's so much more depth in that conference once those 4 get added. And yeah, he can't even be a part owner. So that part's irrelevant. But if I'm Caleb Williams, I look at it and be like, why would I stay?
Right. And you wanna say, the rah-rah to be with the team, and next year it's a 12-team tournament, so maybe they'll get a shot, but you just don't want that injury. You just don't want that. Oh, this is interesting. Does he transfer out of USC? Yeah, to the NFL. Like he's not.
Yeah.
I agree that I don't think he stays around. I mean, there's no reason. It's just no reason right now. Go to Alabama. It's not happening. What? What? I don't see that happening. Or OSU. We'll see. But he ain't staying. Look,
no,
one more game we're going to talk about. And it's our game. North Carolina. And you know what's funny? North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, lost to Virginia 31-27. But I'm not gonna lie to you, Alex. And you might not believe me, but you know what's funny? I actually had a feeling we were gonna lose this game. And I don't know what it is, but some reason these rivalries, last year was NC State.
Yeah.
This year it's Virginia. Some of these teams that it doesn't matter their record. And the reason why I'm saying this is because they came into this game 1-5, ladies and gentlemen. They were a dumpster fire for most of this season. It wasn't even watchable football. Like their offense was atrocious. And I'm not trying to dog on Tony Elliott, man. Shout out to him, but he's just really. He hasn't been able to create and build his team like he would have wanted to. On top of the fact that you got a Florida State, a Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, all these teams that you had to compete with year in and year out. Syracuse that gives teams like that trouble. So he's been dealing with a rough bit a couple years, especially there were some shootings over there as well. But for them to come out, this is almost like a Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson type thing. They just gave us that one good shot. And what does it say about us, man? I need somebody outside perspective.
I think, as weird as it sounds, I think it's a good thing for you guys because it's gonna reset everything.
Yeah,
Mac Brown's gonna get these guys focused. Be like, okay, that's your one.
Yep.
Like that's your freebie. It's go time because you look at it, FSU is still undefeated. But then you go in the conference standings here. Louisville, UNC, Duke, Virginia Tech all have one loss in the conference. Yep. It's a four-team race for that last spot. Mind you, you play Duke. If Riley Leonard's out, you guys push them out. I think that's good. Yeah, you should. Yeah, and I think it's a really good game if he's in. But Louisville, I mean, they play Virginia Tech, who's 2-2 in the conference. They're right there as well. They play Duke this week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially a conference championship eliminator.
Right.
And if I'm you guys, I'm hoping Duke wins.
Yeah.
Because that puts Louisville to 2 losses. You can take care of business in a couple of weeks, put them at 2 losses, and then you're in the driver's seat to go play Florida State. And in some people's opinion, shock the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you got Drake May. He's still playing well. I still have that confidence. But then I also do look at that schedule, and I know I agree with what you're saying. A lot of those we should get the W. But I look back at who we played last year and who we lost to. We lost to Georgia Tech. We lost to a Clemson. We lost to an NC State. You know, Duke is no slouch if they have Riley Leonard, like you said. 3 out of those 4 teams last year came and shocked us, punched us in the mouth. Like you said, I'm hoping Mac Brown gets these guys fired up and exactly what you were talking about. This is your one. You can't afford to make any more blemishes.
Yep.
This is it. And even more so, kind of like in the last team with USC, it's kind of like, look, you already see what this guy is projected as. You see what's happening. Drake is playing for his team right now. He's playing for his guys. He doesn't really need to do that much more to for the scouts to uncover anything else about him. They already know it's him and Caleb. So you want to we're still in the hunt, definitely, but you want to make sure that it's clicked. We're all in. It's now or never. There is no every week is a national championship, because if you lose next week, you're done. You lose the week after, you're done. You know?
Now I will say it couldn't have ended up better that you get one of those 3 opponents you listed, the Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Duke, that you get them this week. You guys played Georgia Tech this week. It couldn't have worked out better that you got them there. Clemson, we know what Clemson is. They're not good this year. Right. Duke and NC State are the 2 tough ones. Now, Duke comes to you, which is a big plus.
Needed that.
You guys go on the road to NC State. I think that's arguably the toughest one left just because it's on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are going to see. I actually got USC losing to Washington and Oregon and maybe UCLA down the stretch.
UCLA is a very realistic one. They play physical. They play tough. Yeah. They've got Steele and those guys that you can slow the game down, limit possessions for Caleb, and make him have to be perfect to beat you. All 3 teams can do this.
And if I'm not with UCLA just put up 42 on Stanford, which shouldn't be saying much, but then we look at what Stanford did to Colorado just 2 weeks ago, where they were able to put up some numbers. So this is showing me, I like that we're seeing this from UCLA, especially going down the stretch. Look, ladies and gentlemen, there was a number of other games, but we're going to go ahead and move on really quickly. This is just another short show, and we're going to go into a segment that's pretty important to us. We have to figure out who's going to be this year's Heisman.
With team success comes individual success, so without y'all.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be our Heisman watch. I sent you, I didn't put it up on here, but I sent you a list of the Heisman contenders. And just to go with a couple of those names on the list, your quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels, Jordan Travis, Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake May, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, that will go down because of the injury, Kyle McCord, DJ Ungalele, Blake Corum, Jalen Milroe, Caleb Williams, Drew Allar, Sam Hartman, Malik Neighbors, and Keon Coleman. You look at that list, and the first thing that pops out to me, you guys are at the top, man. How you feel about this?
I feel like I'm glad I didn't have to pound the table too much for this. JJ, outside of one game this year, has been lights out.
Right.
Been near perfect in pretty much every game he's been in. I like Ben's comment here because it's so true. There's not a clear-cut guy. Right. Like, you look at those betting odds, JJ's plus 240. Penix and Jaden Daniels are right behind him at plus 300. Like, this is so close. You still have Travis, who has big-time games ahead of him. Remember, this isn't decided until after that conference championship game.
Exactly.
So, I think Daniels is going to play himself out just because he doesn't have much in the way of those big-time games left.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the reason I love JJ being up there already, we still have Penn State, we still have Ohio State ahead of us. So, to me, I love that he's getting out there early. I think this is, if a Michigan guy is going to get it, this is the year, and it's going to be JJ. Because he has been borderline perfect all year.
Yeah. Hey, and it's a perfect set of situations. You got Caleb not playing great. Hartman obviously has fallen down a little bit. His numbers aren't as great, and those two losses definitely hurt him. But also the fact that Notre Dame's not going to play in a conference championship. So he's not going to get that one more game to, help his bid to get in here. I did notice also on this list, Drake May dropped. And I agree with it. He's still putting up great numbers. We still see what kind of character he has, but we're not – the one loss, I don't think that will hurt him as much as there have been games where maybe he has been struggling a little bit, or there are times where he's just maybe it's not the best statistical performance, Mm-hmm. But what do you think about the drop? Does that affect the draft? Anything of that nature?
Oh, no. He's the number 2 quarterback in the draft. That's locked in. And that's another guy I feel like he's going to climb his way back in. I think even though he's way down on that list right now, I think there's a realistic chance that Drake May could be in New York for that final 4 or 5, whatever it is. Oh, yeah. Because, like we said, he's got Duke, he's got Clemson, he's got NC State, and potentially a matchup with Jordan Travis. So, I think it's set up for Drake to climb his way back in, and I think he can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think those games later in the year are going to be the deciding factor. How he finishes out this year is going to be huge for him and how he plays in the conference championship. So I'm definitely eager to see. Blake Corum, last year before the injury, top 3 without a doubt. One of the best running backs in the country. This year is not as high, but it's not because he's not as good. It's because the team's success is just they don't really need him to be pounding the rock like they need to. Is there a chance he rises up in this list, or you think he's a casualty of JJ?
Yeah, I think he's a casualty of JJ. Like, I mean, we look at JJ's numbers again. Like, he's got, if you take away that Bowling Green game where he had all 3 of his interceptions, 16 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yeah. So,
to me, I think, one, he's putting up numbers that matches a lot of these guys, and he's playing 2.5, 3 quarters. So, I think with those Penn State and Ohio State games where he'll have to play 4 quarters, I think that'll push him ahead. I love Corum and what he's doing for Michigan. I mean, he's at 12 rushing touchdowns or something already, something ridiculous like that. But he hasn't had to carry the offense like he did last year.
Right. And that's the thing. I've seen a lot of his numbers aren't necessarily 100 yards, but he'll have 2 touchdowns, or he'll have done just enough or more than enough. And then obviously they're yanking him out of the game because, God forbid injury. They don't want any parts of that. So I like him.
He's averaging over 5 yards a carry, 605 yards, 13 touchdowns on 111 carries. So he's still being an elite running back. It's just with less of a sample size. Because I would have loved to see through 8 games what he was at last year. I might try and find that, but he had way more than 111 carries. I'll say that. Way more.
Absolutely. So I saw up here Johnny saying this. Could there be a tight end? With Brock Bowers getting hurt, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, he's out of it.
It's already hard enough for him to get it with a full healthy season. If you get injured, I mean, it's damn near impossible. So, but that does bring something else up that I wanted to ask you about. Blake Corum, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Keon Coleman, all non-quarterbacks. We know how very difficult it is for a non-quarterback to get it. He has to be otherworldly to get that Heisman Trophy winner. Is there a chance that Marvin Harrison, you talked about your boy Blake, any of these guys come up late in the year and take over?
The only one that'll really have a shot is Marvin Harrison Jr. And he's sitting at 6th right now, or 7th, sorry. He's sitting at 7th right now on that list. He might push himself into New York as that 5th guy, but I'm thinking he's going to land just outside.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen games like the Notre Dame game where he was essentially taken out of the game. So he's playing a lot this year, like some of those other Ohio State receivers were, where it's making that business decision and just trying to get through the season unscathed. Because you'll see like 5 plays a game where it's like, oh my God, well, like what did he just do?
Right.
And then he just kind of disappears for the rest of the game. And he'll still end with like 11 receptions, 160 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But it's just he disappears for so long at a time that I think he'll fall just outside.
Yeah, I can see that. Johnny said, when did Bowers get hurt? Bowers got hurt before the bye week. They had a bye week last week, so the week before that. And they're saying he's out potentially for the end of the rest of the season, but I think they were saying right now, unofficial timetable, I think it's like 4 to 6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
And Roman Wilson pushes his way on the list before him. He's been having a stellar year. What are your thoughts about him being on this list?
I love what he's been doing, and I'd love for him to get on the list. But again, I feel like it's one of those situations where, like, when Caleb Williams was doing really well last year, it was like, yeah, okay, but there's like a Jordan Addison here that could make the list, and it's like, yeah, but it's Caleb. Like, I think the quarterback is just taking so much of the limelight in this situation for the Heisman and everything that it's going to screw Roman Wilson over. And the big thing is he's got a ton of touchdowns, but he's under 450 yards receiving.
Oh, wow.
So he's been a touchdown machine.
Yeah.
But, like, JJ spreading the ball around, like, there's 3 guys that are over 350 yards, and then you've got another 3 guys that are between 100 and 200 yards. Like, there's like 7 or 8 guys that are 100 yards plus.
Yeah.
And that's with most of them playing 3 quarters a game. So, I feel like Roman's he's another guy that won't get the recognition he probably deserves, but the numbers will also push him out.
Right. What's going on, Nathan? Nathan said, is Williams still the guy? Has someone closed in on him for Heisman? Williams is far down the list at this point.
Oh, yeah, he's out of the Heisman race.
Yeah, after those 2 losses, and I mean, look, we've seen what he did, the 3 interceptions against Notre Dame. He didn't play. I mean, he did decent in the game against Utah, but again, wasn't able to get it done. Yeah,
barely escaped Arizona.
Right. He's far down that. Yeah, he's pretty much out of there. So we will definitely see. Johnny said no defensive candidates. It's again, if it's hard for the tight ends to get it, it's equally as hard for the defensive candidates. And we've gotten teased with Aiden Hutchinson recently and how well he played. But to be honest, like, unless you have a guy the likes of a Dion or a Charles Woodson for you guys who can play both ways and be that kind of threat, it's going to be super hard.
Well, it took Hutchinson getting 15 sacks,
right,
to be in that conversation. So you've got to have elite level numbers to be even considered. And he ended up getting second, but it was kind of like I'm kind of surprised he got here in the first place. So, and that was with 15 sacks. So,
yeah. And that's and he having that game that he had against Ohio State, playing the biggest game. Talk about that the Heisman moment. That was huge for him. Nathan, the front runner right now is JJ McCarthy, the quarterback from Michigan. So yeah, buddy. So look, it's only going to get the list is only going to get slimmer. We're only going to focus more and more on this and what's coming down the pike. Watch these games, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of these, this is when you start to see, if you haven't already, this is where you start to see that Heisman moment. You know what I mean? When these guys start playing the big-time games, you guys, Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, when these guys have those moments, then they come out, that's the thing that really sways the voters. I mean, the numbers, they're what props them up. But that moment that makes you forget, that Desmond Howard doing the Heisman in the end zone, that Charles Woodson returning, the kicks and the interceptions and all the crazy things they do. Those are these moments that you remember, and they play a big part. They play a big part.
They absolutely do. It's almost more a moment trophy now than it is a stats trophy.
Very true. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Look, ladies and gentlemen, definitely stay tuned. That's about as much as he's going to get. And I am not hating on your boy Brady Cook, but the most honorable mention he's going to get is this comment on.
It's going to take him winning the SEC to have a shot.
Oh yeah. He's going to have to beat Georgia. And look, hey, Scott, we know if you win the SEC, you're going to wash your hat. So we're kind of hoping to see that happen.
Yeah.
Oh man. Let's move on. Oh, wait a minute. Maryland might not have their co-offensive coordinator for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Ooh.
On the bye week, he got arrested in Florida. Kevin Sumlin. That name ring a bell? The old Texas A&M coach.
What?
Yeah, he was the co-offensive coordinator at Maryland with, I believe, Josh Gaddis this year.
Wow.
And they're on the bye week, and he was down in Florida and got yanked for a DUI.
Come on, people. Come on. Get it together. Look, we have to move on, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming close to the end of our show, which went a little bit longer, but you know what? I'm not getting a phone call from Kat right now, so I'm going to go as long as I got my buddy here. All right? We got to do it. Last week was week 8, so we need to give you our week 8 game balls. Alex, who is your week 8? Who's your first week 8 game ball?
My first one's a guy we just spent a bunch of time talking about. It's JJ McCarthy. Almost had as many touchdowns as incompletions on Saturday. 21 of 27, 287 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He was, again, damn near perfect. Yeah. Pinpoint accuracy, making contested throws, making NFL-level throws left, right, and center. My first time giving him some love this year. So JJ McCarthy absolutely gets my game ball.
Oh, I love that. Oh yeah, absolutely. I am going to do the first, and we try not to keep this, try not to continue to do the same people over and over. But when you see the kind of performances dude have, I'm going to do the first back-to-back game ball, and it's going to Ollie Gordon. Last week he had over 160 yards on the ground, and then also had over 100 receiving yards. This week, he just doubled his rushing and got 282 yards, 4 TDs in this game. And if you watch this game against West Virginia, I mean, some of these holes he broke through and he was just gone. Like they had no answer for him. They could not stop this guy on the ground. I think they did a stat where in the last 3 weeks, he has over 550 yards and like 6 or 7 touchdowns. Like,
yeah,
the guy's balling out. He's getting it done. And I look, I was excited to see him last week. I was like, wow, look at these stats. And then I came back and watched the game and saw him play. Ollie Gordon
was a monster.
Yes, he's putting his name out there, and he's definitely putting out some good tape. So definitely check him out. Scott says Cody Schrader, offensive player of the week.
That's my next game ball.
No, hey, perfect segue. Yep. Go ahead, Alex.
26 carries, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns in a big time game to keep Missouri rolling. Had to give Scott some love here, especially since he settled down in the comment section a little bit.
Thank you.
But big time player, making big time plays in a big time game. Cody Schrader gets my second game ball.
I love that.
Yeah, Johnny, don't be shocked if he's the first pick in the 2025 draft. I'm hearing a lot of talk about him coming back.
Uh-oh. I mean, hey, can we get a back-to-back? Let's get through the season first.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got our back-to-back Big Ten championship. Now we're looking for something else.
Right. I got to live vicariously through you right now.
And we got to see if it gets kept if we win it. So
very true on that one. Oh, my goodness. Yo, my second game ball, I'm actually going to stay right in the game that I was just in. Oklahoma State, West Virginia. The ending score was 48-34, so there was a lot of points scored. Mm-hmm. But I got to shout out sophomore Garrett Green, the quarterback for West Virginia, 15-30, 249 yards and 2 TDs. Then also ran the ball like crazy, 16 carries, 117 yards on the ground. Garrett Green was somebody that last year when West Virginia was struggling in that game, they played against Texas and went down 28-0 in like the first quarter.
Yeah.
Garrett Green had to come in and he gave West Virginia a little bit of life. This year, he's really been able to stretch that offense because he's got legs, man. His wheels are get that offense moving, and the defense has to focus on, is he going to keep the ball or is he going to hand the ball off? And the guy can throw the ball as well. He's a tough little cookie, guy gets it done. So Garrett Green, that's my guy. That's my second game ball for week 8. Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Let's get it. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, again, another week college football update. We apologize that we were not on last week. That was on me. Had to take care of some stuff in-house, but it's all good. We're here on Saturday and we're here tonight. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy. So look, we appreciate all of you that are in the comments, all of you going back and forth with us. Yes, even you, Scott, with some of the things that you were saying, my friend. But we have to let you go. So my guy, Alex, restoring the roar tomorrow?
No, I'm gonna move it to Sunday.
Okay.
It's gonna come on before the Sunday night football game with us playing Monday night this week. I pushed it later in the week. I got some stuff going on tomorrow. So Sunday night, in that space between that late window and the Sunday night football game.
Okay. I like that. So definitely stay tuned for that. And hey, we got Washington Football Weekly tomorrow. Let's talk football. Ladies Takeover on Thursday, NFL edition on Thursday. Yep. And then North Sports Dynasty, hopefully on Friday, and then back to us on Saturday. So there's something for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. We know you like to talk football. Yep. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh, Scott.
Yeah. You're something else, my guy.
No, right. Couldn't have said it better myself. Look, we got to go ahead and let you go. Appreciate all you guys in the comments, watching, tuning in, hanging out with us. Definitely stay tuned for what we got coming in the next coming weeks. College football, week 9 coming up. We're almost done with this thing. By. God, I remember this August when we were just like, come on, one more week. And now it's just like, slow down.
So next week when we're doing our Saturday show, so a week from Saturday, we will be 4-ish weeks away from conference championship Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This thing is moving quick, man. Good gracious.
Boy, is it ever.
Oh, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and head out of here. That's my guy, Alex Loosemore. You know who it is. It's your boy, Sean Spencer. This has been College Football Update. Stay tuned for everything else we got going on. Have a happy Tuesday. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
College Football Update. It's with your host, Sean Spencer. Hey.